Layla al-Rashid had everything: beauty, money, and a perfect life, until a DNA test exposed her husband Fahad's affair with their Filipina maid, Maria Santos. Within days, love turned into vengeance, and their golden Dubai mansion became the scene of a chilling crime born from betrayal. Asterisk asterisk. In the golden heat of Dubai's suburban sprawl, Layla al-Rashid appeared to have everything a woman could desire: wealth, beauty, and status. Her husband, Fahad al-Rashid, was a rising figure in real estate, admired for his ambition and effortless charm. Their villa gleamed with marble floors, gold accents, and the faint scent of imported jasmine. To neighbors and friends, their marriage seemed flawless, a symbol of luxury and stability. But inside the cold walls of their home, silence had become their only shared language. Fahad's once affectionate gestures faded into indifference. He came home later each night, claiming business meetings or property viewings, leaving Layla alone in the echo of her own suspicions. She tried to dismiss the unease until one morning, while sipping her coffee, she noticed something strange. The family's young maid, Maria Santos, avoided eye contact whenever Fahad was around. Her voice trembled, her hands shook slightly when serving him. Layla's instincts flared. The quiet smiles, the hurried glances, the tension in the air, it all hinted at something she couldn't ignore. Maria was polite, respectful, and soft-spoken, but there was a nervousness that betrayed fear or guilt. Layla's jealousy twisted into a quiet obsession. She watched every movement, every interaction, memorizing the smallest details. She began checking Fahad's shirts for perfume, scanning his phone when he left it unattended, and noting his schedule with an investigator's precision. The more she searched, the more uneasy she became. There were unexplained expenses, deleted messages, and a growing distance that confirmed her worst fears. In a world where reputation was everything, Layla's perfect image began to fracture. The seed of suspicion had been planted, and it would soon grow into something dark, irreversible, and deadly. Layla's doubts turned into an unbearable storm that consumed her every waking thought. She could no longer look at Maria without feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. Each time she saw Fahad speaking softly to the maid, something inside her twisted tighter. She needed proof, something undeniable. One afternoon, while Fahad was away at a business meeting, Layla secretly entered Maria's small room. Among the neatly folded clothes and a few worn photos, she found a medical receipt from a nearby clinic. Her pulse quickened as she read the words prenatal checkup. It was all the confirmation she needed to know something was terribly wrong. Pretending concern, Layla approached Maria the next day, her tone soft and maternal. She offered to accompany her to her next appointment, masking fury beneath a gentle smile. When Maria agreed, unaware of the true reason, Layla made a separate call to the clinic, requesting a private DNA test. She wanted to be absolutely certain before confronting the betrayal that had destroyed her peace. The waiting days were unbearable. Each hour felt like torture. When the results finally arrived, Layla opened the envelope with trembling hands. The truth struck like a knife. The unborn child belonged to Fahad. For a long moment, she couldn't breathe. The walls of the villa seemed to close in, trapping her in a nightmare she couldn't escape. Her husband had not only broken their marriage, but humiliated her in the most unforgivable way. Tears came first, then silence, and finally a chilling calm. Something inside her shifted. She would no longer be the victim of their deceit. In the quiet of her mansion, Layla began to plan a revenge so precise and calculated that even grief couldn't blur her focus. Layla's grief turned into strategy. Her mind, once clouded with sadness, became clear and sharp. Every move she made was deliberate. She dismissed 2 household helpers, claiming she needed privacy for her mental peace. This left only Maria in the villa, along with Layla and Fahad, who had no idea that his wife now carried silent hatred behind her calm eyes. Layla began to observe Maria's routine, the times she ate, slept, and rested. She took note of everything, pretending to care for her health as the pregnancy progressed. She spoke softly, offered fruit, and brewed tea every evening, carefully dissolving crushed sleeping pills into the cup before handing it to Maria with a smile. At first, Maria simply felt tired. But as the nights passed, her energy faded, Her movements slowed, and her once bright eyes dulled with exhaustion. Layla reassured her it was normal for expecting mothers, convincing her to stay indoors and rest. Days blurred into one another inside that quiet villa. Behind closed doors, Layla watched her plan unfold like a slow, silent storm. Then came the afternoon she had been waiting for. The house was empty, sunlight spilling through the tall windows. Layla moved with eerie composure, her steps silent on the marble floor. She entered the maid's quarters where Maria lay weak and half asleep. What followed was swift and cold, a moment born from weeks of planning and suppressed rage. When it was over, Layla stood motionless, staring at the stillness she had created. The next morning, her cries echoed through the villa as she pretended to discover Maria's lifeless body. She called for help, feigning panic and sorrow. To the outside world, it looked like tragedy. To Layla, it felt like justice. The death was ruled a tragic medical complication at first. Maria's body was taken to a hospital for routine examination, and Layla played her role perfectly, grieving widow of a household tragedy, mourning the loss of a maid she claimed was like family. She even arranged a small memorial, crying softly in front of the staff and police, speaking of how kind and gentle Maria had been. Everyone believed her. Even Fahad, though uneasy, accepted her explanation. He was too distracted by his guilt and the chaos of the situation to question anything deeply. For a while, it seemed Layla's secret would remain buried with Maria. But in Dubai, every secret eventually surfaces. A few days later, a forensic examiner noticed inconsistencies in the autopsy. The sedatives found in Maria's blood didn't match any medication prescribed to her. There were faint bruises around her wrists, subtle but unusual for a pregnant woman. The examiner's instincts told him to dig deeper. When he checked hospital records, he discovered the DNA results Layla had secretly commissioned. The documents showed that Maria's unborn child shared a biological link with Fahad al-Rashid. The puzzle pieces clicked into place, revealing a story far darker than a medical tragedy. The authorities reopened the case quietly, not wanting to alert the powerful al-Rashid family. They began monitoring Layla, reviewing surveillance footage and interviewing staff who had recently been dismissed. As suspicions grew, Fahad was brought in for questioning. When confronted with the DNA evidence, his face drained of color. The perfect facade he and Layla had built began to crumble. What began as a household tragedy was rapidly transforming into one of Dubai's most shocking scandals. The arrest came swiftly and silently. On a warm evening, as Layla attended a charity gala in a flowing emerald gown, police officers entered the ballroom and approached her table. The glittering chandeliers reflected off her diamond necklace as the handcuffs clicked shut. The crowd froze, whispers spreading like wildfire. Layla didn't resist. She held her head high, her expression calm, as if she had been waiting for this moment all along. Cameras flashed, recording the fall of a woman who once embodied grace and wealth. In custody, her confession stunned investigators. She admitted to poisoning Maria but spoke with chilling composure, insisting she had done it to restore honor after her husband's betrayal. There was no remorse in her tone, only pride. To her, it wasn't murder, it was justice. The courtroom was filled with reporters and socialites during her trial, all hungry for details. Fahad sat in silence as evidence was read aloud. The DNA results, the toxicology report, the surveillance gaps she had carefully planned. His empire began to collapse under the weight of scandal. Business partners withdrew, properties were seized, and his reputation was ruined beyond repair. Maria's family in the Philippines wept as her story made international headlines, turning her name into a symbol of innocence destroyed by privilege. Layla was sentenced to life in prison, her beauty fading behind concrete walls. Fahad vanished from the public eye, a broken man haunted by guilt. In the end, there were no winners, only lives shattered by betrayal, pride, and revenge. Beneath Dubai's glittering skyline, the story of Layla al-Rashid became a haunting reminder that behind wealth and perfection, darkness can hide quietly, waiting for the right moment to strike.